All right. Welcome back, guys. Suitcase Divas here. And this week we are talking spring break.
Yes.
So, usually when we think spring break, we're thinking, around Easter time, the 1 week that everybody can travel. But spring is actually from March 20th to June 20th in 2025. It's a whole big window to
That's
pick
a
from.
big ass window.
Yes. And I'm an empty nester, and Denise is almost an empty nester.
I
She's
see
like,
the light at the end of the
yes,
tunnel.
she's
Yes.
right there. So spring break means something different to us. We
Yes.
get to still plan and do spring break if we want. Grown up spring break, right?
It's fabulous.
We don't have to worry about school calendars, and we don't have to worry about traveling during the peak season because spring break usually falls around the same time, mid-March, closer to Easter, depending on when. So it might be April, depending on when Easter falls, but it
Easter
is
falls on 4/20 this
this
year.
year
For
it
those
does.
of
But
you that
spring break,
means something too, that means
right.
something.
But spring break for
4/20.
schools tend to be in March. And then I think even I think they're in March this year. Maybe even they are in
Yeah, and
March.
I think up north it tends to be because it's so much colder that they wait till like April-ish to do spring breaks. But yeah, I think the further south you go, the earlier it is, and colleges are earlier.
Yeah,
But yeah,
colleges are
we
earlier.
notoriously northern people have later like starting of school year, which pushes back spring break. But
Interesting.
it is all you have to if you want to not take your children out of school, which that could be a whole topic in itself because some people
Right.
are like
We've had that
I'm
discussion. Yeah.
happy to take my kids out of school depending on what their age level of if they're in kindergarten, I get it if you're up there in high school and you've got your accountability with attendance, that's obviously a harder and a different issue. But I think we are slaves to the school calendar,
Right. And
typically in
when you think
for spring break.
travel, right. And when you think travel during spring break, it is one of the busiest times for families to travel, which means that supply and demand, that's also one of the more expensive times to travel.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
now that we are grown-ups and trying to experience grown-up spring break, we have the whole time from March 20th to June 20th to actually
Called
plan something,
freedom, my friends.
right?
Freedom.
So
Put in your time,
what
and you're
does
now at the point where you have a little more freedom.
right. So what does spring break look like for us grown-ups by ourselves? Let's talk about spring break destinations for grown-ups.
Yeah, so I think topping out 2025, let's think luxury, let's think relaxation. If we're not toting toddler along, um, Maldives first and foremost, gorgeous. These are islands for those of you that don't know geography, like me. I mean, until I became a travel agent, I really learned so much about where things are. So the Maldives are islands that are to the east of Africa. Um, and they're gorgeous. They're known for over the water bungalows, if you will. That's on my bucket
Nice.
list. How about
Yeah.
that? You want to stay in a over the water bungalow, Cheryl?
Yes, like
The
ready
other
for any
things that
adult one. Sorry.
you're like, oh wait, my mind just wandered.
Yes.
Well, that is an opportunity for you. It just saying. The other thing is Napa Valley in California, Sonoma, Napa Valley. I actually am planning a trip right now with my college besties. So I'm trying to decide things like they all want to get this mud spa, and we're looking at up in Calistoga, maybe like the Dr. Wilkinson's versus the I think it's called Indian there's a couple different spas, and I'm kind of leaning towards the Indian retreat one because it's got a more extensive spa selection for those that don't want to wallow in the mud. Not that I have anything wrong with that. It's almost like a claustrophobia thing for me. I don't want to be submersed. You're supposed to be submersed up to your neck in mud. And for me, would you do that? Would you have a problem with
Yes.
that?
No, I would do it. But I do know that would not be something you would love. So finding a place that would offer kind of like a
I'm
blend
all
so
about the
you have
mineral
options.
springs. Yes, put me in the hot springs with
Yeah.
some like effervescence. There's one that's got like this CBD part of it that's just like relax.
Yeah.
Riley, as you can hear, Riley's relaxing. You
Yeah.
can hear the little piglet calling from behind. He's already in his mud bath right now in his dreams. But yeah, so that is very exciting. So I think I'm leaning more towards Indian Springs just because they have a huge hot mineral bath, and that sounds amazing. French Riviera is another one that's like known for, get to do wine tasting and cheese pairing. You can't go wrong with some
Right. That's
cheese
right up
and
our
some
alley.
wine. Am I right? Am I
Yes.
right? But yeah, so that's topping out the bucket list of 2025 for adults options to go for a relaxing spring break option.
Nice. And then the adventure culture, and we have options for that, doing Portugal, food and wine, wellness and rejuvenation in Sedona, and the Northern Lights is a big one that a lot of people like to go towards.
Yeah, in Iceland, that's very popular. And then Machu Picchu, do you know where that is, Cheryl? Do you
You know
know?
what's so funny is we have actually had this question when we've done trivia multiple times when we get together with our travel agent buddies.
Not many
And
people know where it is. They just like to say Machu Picchu. It's
yes,
very
it is one of
relaxing.
those things that I honestly forget
Then
every single time where it's at.
I will tell you, it is in Peru.
Okay. That was not at the top of my list.
No worries. That's
But
why we're a
I'm
team.
learning
We got each other
because,
covered.
yes. So then after we have all these different things, we also have the all-inclusive style. So tell us about the all-inclusive.
Well, so all inclusive can be anywhere from, there's tons of all inclusives. I mean, I love sandals, I love reuse, but if we're talking cruises, I love the idea of Virgin Voyages. It's the only adults only US based cruise line that is, so if your kids are 21 or older, then or 18, actually
It
it's
is
really
18.
18. And in
Yeah.
a lot of the places that we cruise to down in the Caribbean, in Mexico, the drinking age is honestly 18. So if you have a child that is 18, that absolutely could be
Well,
part of
let's not say if you have a child. Let's say if you have a travel
an
partner
adult.
that's 18.
I mean, it's always going to be your child. I'm
That's
not
true.
I'm not
Yeah.
advocating for underage drinking at
Just so
all.
our listeners didn't think we were pushing that. But yes, we are talking about our adult children, which we both have.
Yes. My 21-year-old is like, no, thank you to alcohol. And I'm like, yes, I'm glad you don't like it. So, but yeah, so we're super excited to have to be looking more into Virgin Voyages for the all-inclusive adults only vacation or spring break, if you will, whenever you want to have them on there, and we're looking towards booking a Virgin Voyages cruise in the near future too. So maybe sometime in the near future, you will be invited to come on a cruise with the Divas if you're an adult.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that because there's not a lot of things out there where you can go where there's no kids. And we both have kids, so we love kids. We love our kids, not so much everybody else's. So we want a break from the kid environment sometimes.
Exactly.
So we're excited to check out Virgin Voyage cruises. So
Yeah, and Virgin Voyage, I will say, while they're not like crazy pineapple flinging anything crazy, like sometimes they do get a bad rap sometimes, and I think that is just misinformation because that can happen on any cruise line, anywhere, any country. But what I will say, they do focus on inclusiveness. Like
mm,
you are going to probably see a drag show on there. There is an opportunity to get a tattoo. Maybe it's not as conservative as some people might be, but they're also not wild and gregarious either. They're a very, very eco-friendly cruise line. That's what I love about them too. I love the hammocks, how they're sourced. I love the bracelets that are recyclable. I love
yeah.
how there's no trash. They don't have water bottles. You have to have your own water cup. I just love how green they are. That's my jam. I am all about Virgin Voyages, and I definitely want to focus on trying to get some group bookings out there because I think it is an amazing cruise line, and we'll delve more into that in another episode. But yeah,
And speaking of all inclusive style of travel, I really like planning and being able to show up and everything be taken care of. So I also like the all inclusive resorts that you can just show up and your food and your drinks and your entertainment are all,
No cooking, no
yeah,
cleaning.
you're it's all there for
That's my
you. You
jam.
just come up. So where would you go or what would you do if money and time weren't an issue for your perfect spring break grown up adventure?
Okay, well, so the little bungalows in the Maldives sound fabulous. I'm all about a tropical island. I also have not, I really want to get over to Europe. I really want to, like
Mm,
Uncle John says, we need to go to the French Riviera. We need to be drinking. We need to go to I forget the location. Do you remember what he
I
said? It
don't
started with
know.
an A. Something. But anyway, I want to go drink the prosecco and have the loveliest. I also Italy is definitely on my bucket list as far as just going and having some amazing red wine and nibbling on cheese and bread. That sounds like my jam. I could totally be on board with that. Like, what would you say? What would you say? Hawaii. You've been to Hawaii. I still have not been to Hawaii.
Yeah, I do like Hawaii, but New Zealand, I would say New
Oh,
Zealand is
yes.
absolutely number one on my bucket. It has been for years. I read a book series, my gosh, it had to be
Gorgeous
over
landscape.
10, 15 years ago that introduced me to the culture and the history of it. And I fell in love with it. And that would be probably my number one. If I had no money and no issues were there and I could just plan
Yeah,
the best thing, that would be where I'd go 100%.
I 100% feel that because New Zealand is on my bucket list as well. It's it doesn't have a lot as much doesn't get mentioned as many times. You know what
No,
I
it
mean?
doesn't.
Like
And
it's
I
not
appreciate
and
that too.
and that is another thing that is beneficial is not going to the over highly
Mhm.
populated places. Kind of like Italy. I know Italy is on there. There was I just saw something on Reddit or something like that where this one influencer invited all these people to a ski place and the roads cannot accommodate like 2,000 people just showed up at the
Oh,
ski
wow.
resort and that may have actually been in New Zealand, not even Italy, because they're not prepared for the influx of that many people. And there
Right.
was an influencer on there, and they're like, everybody should come. They got the snow that they needed. I'll have to research exactly where it was, but they were just like, please don't do that, influencers. Please don't
Yeah.
don't invite 2,000 people.
Especially if you haven't touched base
And
with
they've
the
never been there, and they
place
didn't
you've
even.
been. Yeah. That's
So
wild.
so
But
yeah, I mean that happens as well.
and talking about like dream places to go, but also unique experiences like the wine tours and the spa retreats, those tend
Yeah,
to be typically adults only. However, even we can go to places we've gone with our kids or places where kids are going as adults by ourselves. Don't feel locked in that that's a family only style thing, which I always think of Disney. A lot of people are like, you shouldn't go to Disney if you don't have kids. I say go to
so
Disney,
many people
experience
do.
it without having kids.
Yeah.
And there's another place that I just found recently and sent it to my my adult daughter because it's the ideal place she would love, and she does not have any kids. It's Safari Stays, and it's in Oklahoma, and you can book your very own Airbnb with unique exotic animal encounters. So it was absolutely gorgeous. I saw it on TikTok and I sent it right to her because that would be her dream thing to see.
Yeah, that is very cool. Well, kind of like piggybacking with that, I would say that we went to so I rented an Airbnb. This was kind of like a out in nature type of moment. We did it for a birthday party for Reese. We rented an Airbnb out in Graceland Highlands State Park, which is like Virginia, I believe. It's right on the border of North Carolina and Virginia. But we stayed in this beautiful Airbnb and it was out in the middle of nowhere. And then the hike, which is the state park, you do this, I guess I don't remember how many miles it is, but it's not like arduous, but it's definitely not, you can't, it's not for the like it's not a walking trail. I'll put it like
Right.
that. You are
Yeah.
hiking. You cross over some bodies of water. You have to hike up some rocks, but you're looking for their wild ponies that live out there in the state park. So that was a really cool kind of off the grid, unusual. That was a spring break that we did. And definitely not cookie cutter beach or Disney. We've done all that. So it was nice to kind of get out and do something different and be out in nature. So I thought that was a kind of a unique, fun experience that we had too on that trip.
Right. All
I
right.
would
So
recommend
let's
that.
let's do a quick rapid fire. I have a list. We had talked about this. Doing your this or that spring break grown up edition. Um, Listing out like you have your own list and I have mine to ask you to see.
Yeah,
I'm
I
very
do.
curious when it came down to this, what each of us would choose in those moments.
Okay, do you want me to read mine to you first and you rapid fire, or you want to take
Okay,
turns?
that works. I'll put
Okay.
them down.
I'll do my five that I picked.
Okay.
So, girls trip or romantic getaway?
Girls trip. That's sad
Okay.
to say,
So
but I
it's
would love,
okay. You can
yeah.
justify why, and we'll go back over it.
Okay.
Safari or swimming with dolphins?
Safari.
Okay. Parasailing or snorkeling?
Snorkeling. I want a parasail, but I watch way too many movies. That
Okay.
I'm going snorkeling. Yeah.
Sex on the beach or a lap dance in the club?
I'm too old for sex on the beach. I'm going, that's too dirty. I'm going lap dance in the club.
Okay. Sushi or New York cheesecake?
Sushi.
All right. I picked accurately for you on every single one of these. This is how good I know you.
That's so funny. We should have done that. We should have written down. And I have an idea. I picked these specifically because I think I would pick one way and you pick another, or there's some that I think we pick identical. All right, you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Stay up for sunrise after an all-nighter or wake up for a sunrise yoga session.
Oh God, these are hard. I could
Mm-hmm.
go either way. But
Quick, it's
if
supposed to be rapid.
I know, Jesus, but those are so similar. Like I did night or day. Like there was no
I
sunrise
know.
either way. Like you can't go wrong with a sunrise and a yoga or partying all night in a sunrise. I guess
So
I
you're
would
gonna stay up and party and do yoga after the sun rises?
I have no problem with that.
I know. The reason why I picked that was because we have actually had that dilemma on a cruise where you're like, let's stay up for sunrise. That's a whole other story, but we have actually had this dilemma because I am not a late night person. So this is that just made me giggle when I
You're
found it.
typically not, but for the record, on the MSC cruise, I was all about let's just stay up all night and not go to sleep. And Cheryl's like, get your ass in the bedroom.
We were a few hours from sunrise and had to be up at like
You know,
it was
you're
just
like, we leave
it made me
tomorrow.
giggle.
We're
Okay.
going to bed. Yeah.
Are you doing all inclusive with endless cocktails or curated food and wine experience?
Oh, definitely all inclusive with endless cocktails.
Okay. Throwback 90s party or an elegant cocktail soiree in a speakeasy?
Listen, I love the 90s, so I'm going with the throwback 90s party. If there's
Interesting.
listen, if there's 90s rap and we can be dancing and having fun, oh, something
Okay.
here. Yes.
Chasing waterfalls and nature hikes or the VIP beach club experience?
Hmm. Although I love some waterfall hikes, I would want to go with a VIP beach experience because
Yeah,
there's
those
nothing
are two
like
of your
being
favorite things. That's why I put
yes.
those together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll do one more. Let's see, because I had a whole list. This list was so good. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Well, okay. This one's an easy pick, I think. Mimosas and brunch with a view or beachside tacos and margaritas.
Why are yours all so like it's like there's no good answer because they're all good. Like I gave you choices. I gave you sushi. I gave you
Supposed to
cheesecake.
be right rapid fire. Like, what would you choose? Yeah.
I want everything. I'll take it all. I guess I'm not as good at this game as I thought. I'm better at asking the questions than deciding. because you had definite answers to everything. But I feel like I made mine like kind of this or that.
You did, but it was
Yours were kind of like, would you rather a sunrise with mimosa or would you rather a sunrise with yoga? And I'm like, I would fucking rather both. Like,
I
can
know,
we
but
not?
I thought it was supposed to be challenging. Like you really had to choose between things you would really do, but you did make it easy on me. I will say that.
You're welcome.
You did. Okay, so we talked a lot about amazing spring break, just being adults on spring break. We get to be grown-ups on spring break. We don't have to let that vibe end just because our kids are grown. We get to go out there and do it and have fun. So we encourage you guys to plan your spring break. Where would you go? That's our question to our listeners. Where would you go for your grown-up spring break? And
Yeah.
when? Are you going early March or are you going towards June? That's a good question.
Right. And there is no right or wrong answer. That's the lovely thing about having that freedom and it's an adult spring break. So we're not really basing it around when the kids can go. We're really basing it on when we want to go and do what
Right.
we want to do. And that is that freedom, and like it is a blessing. It is a blessing to have your kids. And I know when I had my kids, my world revolved around my children. I was excited to plan their spring break and I was excited to get their little Disney necklaces with the little pins and all that stuff. And or the cruises. Like I took a 10-day cruise when my children were 2 years old and 6 years old. So when I say I was chasing them around the cruise ship the whole time, and it wasn't really a spring break for me, everybody's like, this was so relaxing, so lovely. And I'm like, I don't know, it wasn't for me. But I
Yeah.
had fun and I made experiences, and but it's a different ballpark. And I think that any mom can relate that it's different when you have smaller children and you are planning a spring break around what would they enjoy? What can we make this trip about them versus your spring break or your adults only trips are going to revolve around like what makes me happy now. Like I've raised my children and I just want to.
It's our time to
Right.
have fun and experience spring break and go do all the things that we would have or wouldn't have done with our kids. If I want to go to Disney without kids, I'm going. But I personally am choosing that all inclusive or that adults only cruise because
And I'm getting
I'm
on that
excited.
Virgin Voyage cruise 100%. I'm gonna be there. You can find me there. I'll let you know the date and time that you guys, if you want to join, you can join. We're gonna be on a Virgin Voyage cruise in the very near
Hopefully
future.
soon. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let us know let us know what you think, where you would go on your adults only or grown up true. It doesn't your grown up spring break.
And
I want
even
to
if you
avoid
don't
saying
act
adults only. It
grown,
gives it that bad
yeah,
twist.
maybe we should just say sans children.
Yeah, the grown up trips that you guys take. Where are you going? If money wasn't an issue, if time wasn't an issue, where would your dream grown up spring break be? Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today, but thank you for being with us, and we hope to see you on a spring break in the near future.